This is Benjamin from Real Right, Wisconsin, and I'm here today talking to Dr. David King, who is running for Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin. Thanks for being on with me, Dr. King.
Thanks for having me, sir.
Okay, so just kind of as an overview question, I wanted to know how would you define the role of state government?
As it is right now,
Yeah.
as it is right now, it's a big tumor, and it's just growing and growing and growing, and it's interfering with everything. It's interfering with small business owners. It's interfering with families. It's interfering with education. I mean, it's just a big tumor that need to be cut out. I don't like the way government is involved in our personal life. We're supposed to have personal responsibility, not government responsibility. So yeah, it's just like a big tumor.
Absolutely. And so, what would you say the role of state government should be then?
Well, I mean, the state government should just make sure the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin is being handled right, and it should get out of the way. And it shouldn't be interfering, but it should be assisting if small business owners need help so they can grow, because government does not create jobs, small business does. So we need to be there to make sure small businesses, small farmers get what they need. So not only can they provide for their family, but they can, make some money as well. And then as a home, government needs to stay out the house, period.
Absolutely. So what kind of help would you define proper government help as for businesses?
Well, most companies, because I'm a business coach and consultant, and a lot of them is hindered by the government with all the regulations and rules and stuff that they're doing to them. I think that if government would just back up and come as needed, like if they're being called upon, if there's injustice, then the government comes in and makes sure the playing field stay the same. I believe that we should encourage more small business owners to move forward, because it's not the big companies that make the country run. It's the small businesses that allow the government to focus. So I believe that we should assist as much as we can to small business owners as well.
You have, at several of your speaking engagements, you've called yourself the agitator or an agitator. Would you mind explaining what you mean by that?
The agitator.
The agitator, yeah.
Okay. What I mean by that is this. One thing government forgot is that the people hired us to be there for them. And they elect you to go in office to represent them. What we've been having lately is, on both sides, the party tells the people how they're going to represent, instead of them listening to what the people are saying and representing the people the way they should be representing the people. And so me as an agitator is going to make sure that the government does what they say they was going to do for the people. Not a lobbyist, not an organization, but for the people itself, the average mom and dad that's out here fighting right now. I mean, we're in the greatest country in the world. We're in the most freest country in the world, and we're sitting around fighting for our freedom. That doesn't make sense. That lets me know that those that are in government forgot that they was there for the people. As an agitator, I'll remind them what they're there for.
Excellent. So, as you said, government officials should be listening to the people to find out what the people need and what the people are asking for.
Yes.
I would think, as you've been campaigning, you've been listening to the people. What are some of the things that the people have been telling you?
Get out of our business. That's it. Your job is to fight for our freedom. Your job is to make sure that we stay free. The school system should not be in control of making decisions for kids. The parents are supposed to do that. But right now, the school system are making decisions. If they go to the doctor, a 14-year-old can say she don't want her parents in the room, and the parents can't be in the room. So when you look at it from that point, they're not listening to the parents. The parents is crying out. We understand what it means to have personal responsibility. Leave us alone, all right? We're being bullied by businesses trying to mandate something. That's when the government's supposed to step in and say, stand down. You can't force these people to do this. Even with the coronavirus, the government should say, okay, here's one side of corona, here's the other side. Make the best decision for your own family. This is the vaccine. This is what we say the vaccine. This is what we say the vaccine will not do. Make the decision for your family. So, but they're not doing that. They're just taking over, and they're trying to, instead of us being a country that is free and that we have the right for free choices, they're trying to twist us and slide in communism and socialism. And that's not going to work in a free country.
Absolutely. Okay, so to follow up on that then, on coronavirus and mandates, what would you say the line is? Because there is, there's a level of concern that people rightly have for public health. There's a place for public health authorities. Most of the conservatives that I talk to, they don't say like, oh, get rid of this stuff wholesale. I guess some are starting to say that now with what's going on. But what would you say the line is with
information? Give us all the information. Don't lie to boost the numbers up. Because when someone's died and they had a pre-existing condition, they said they died of corona. But if somebody take the vaccine and they died, then it's, oh no, they died from the pre-existing condition. No. Put everything on the table. All right. When you put everything on the table, then the parent can make a decision. But when you are lying and you're falsifying numbers where you can use scare tactics or hate tactics, then you went too far. And so, with the coronavirus, if you educate people, if your immune system is built up, right? If you're eating the proper thing, you might get sick, but you'll overcome it. Because what? 90-some% of the people overcame coronavirus. I mean, even 90-year-olds, 99-year-olds overcame corona. Put everything on the table. And then let us make that decision. Because if I have a pre-existing condition, right? Then yes, I know if my immune system is vulnerable to certain things, I stay away from it. Just like a person, if they're allergic to seafood, they don't go eat seafood. They stay away from seafood, right? If somebody's allergic to peanuts, they stay away from anything that has peanut in it, right? So give us everything and let us make that conscious decision for our families.
Absolutely.
But when for example, they force in a mask mandate. What they're not telling people is the mask is dangerous to your health because you're not releasing the carbon monoxide poisoning that you're supposed to let out. You're pushing it back into your body system. So doctors have came out and said, hey, this is dangerous. But do you listen to the doctors? No, because those doctors is not pushing your agenda. So I believe in government, we're supposed to give you everything and let you make that decision. We don't make that decision for you.
Gotcha. Okay. And then you were talking about schooling. You said the schools are controlling what goes on with the children. The parents should be in charge of that. So as far as public schooling goes, where would you say the areas are that it has failed? Are there any areas that it succeeded? And what would healthy change look like for you? Well,
when I was in school focused on reading, writing, and math. I'll put it that way. My tongue just getting tired. No so those are the three major areas in school, right? Mm-hmm. Then you had history. Then you had science. Then you had home ec and wood shop, and you had it all, right? Mm-hmm. Now you're telling us that's not important anymore. We're going to indoctrinate your children in what we want. Now we're pushing our agenda. Not one time when I was in school did one president wanted to talk to all the schools at one time, right? Not one time in school that they all of a sudden they're going to dumb down education because one person wasn't smarter than the next person. So what you're telling people is don't try hard. We all the same. No. That's what's great about this country. We can compete to be the best at whatever we want to be. So when you look at the school system, I got, and I'm going to pull it up to you. I got a lady who sent me information on her grandchild. And this is what happened at a school. She got her finger, the tip of her finger taken off at school. No one called the ambulance. She had surgery at 4:30. The incident happened at 8:45 that morning. They had the tip of the finger in a file cabinet, and they went to court, and the judge says, "I want to rule in your favor, but I can't because of your legislators, your city officials, your elected officials made a law that the school did not have to call you."
Is that in Wisconsin?
It's here in Milwaukee.
Really?
Yes.
Incredible.
So when the school gets that much power to make a life or death decision for your children, we don't went too far.
Absolutely.
So when we look at that, and this is one of the ladies that I'm about to help, because this is the stuff that we're talking about. Government done got to control. Now, if that was a mother who did that and waited till it happened at 8:30 and waited till 4:45, they'd had the police at the hospital waiting on the mother and arresting the mother for child neglect.
Absolutely.
But you're allowing this to happen at a school.
Then, in a similar vein, one of the things that a lot of parents all across the United States have been really upset about as they've had their kids at home for a year, they've been more involved in their kids' school life. Critical race theory has been something that's been coming up a lot. Would you mind giving me your take on the critical race theory situation?
It's stupid. It's dumb. It's all it does is try to divide and confuse. All right. And most blacks, when they hear critical race theory, they say, "Oh my God, they're getting ready to teach black history." No, they're not. Do you think the government is going to tell the school system to teach that we did Black Wall Street and we literally killed those blacks? Oh, tell them about the Tuskegee experiment where we injected blacks with syphilis. All right? Or tell them that because of our wonderful president, LBJ, his war on poverty really was war on the black families to get the black men out of the house. You really think they're going to tell that history? No. So when the blacks heard it, they thought that's what they was getting ready to do. But now they're finding out, oh my God, wait a minute. They're talking about my son will always be a victim and his white friend is always a racist. Or your gender don't matter no more. You can be whatever you want to be because God made a mistake when he made you. So when you start looking at it, and the thing about it is, you have liberal teachers that love this because now they get to teach you what they want you to know, not what you need to know. And so they don't care if you can read and write. Just understand our agenda so we can focus on you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up teachers because that's another thing that's been coming out a lot is teachers with pretty radical motives. It's been coming out with Project Veritas talked about that teacher who was encouraging kids to go to Antifa protests for extra credit. There's been a lot of teachers who have been posting videos on TikTok about reinforcing and encouraging gender identity issues or alternative sexualities in their classes. The long list of sexually explicit books and comics and graphic novels that are being shown in these school libraries. With all of this going on, what do you think is the best way to handle that for the state government? How do you think the state government can combat this?
Well, first of all, as state government, and one of my proposals is that we go in the Constitution and we switch the DPI race from spring to fall. That it be with every other major race. And the reason that is because now you can put some people that wants to run for that office that has a conservative mindset or a common sense mindset, okay? Now you get control of the education system. Now you can say, okay, you know what? We're going to get rid of Common Core. We're going to go back to reading, writing, and math. We got to get back to the basics, right?
Yeah.
So our kids can compete. Our kids right now cannot compete. Why? Because our kids don't know how to read. They don't know how to use a ruler. They don't know how. So now we take control of it, right? So now we go back and we now going back to the basics, okay? And so going back to the basics, now we're making our children critical thinkers. They'll be able to think again. They'll be able to decide for themselves instead of me telling them what they're going to be. It's just like in Cuba with Castro, right? They said they went into the schools and they said, okay, bow your head and pray to God that he give you candy. And the kids put their head down, pray to God. And he said, okay, open your eyes. Where's your candy? Now close your eyes and pray to Castro give you candy. And when they closed their eyes, the soldiers went around and put candy on all the desks.
Wow.
And they said, open your eyes. And they opened their eyes and they said, who gave you that candy? Castro. So when you look at it, that's what they're doing right now. You know, they're moving godly principles out. And anytime you move godly principles out, you're going to have chaos, you're going to have confusion, and you're going to have hatred. So we got to get over the education. We got to take total control of the education system, and then we can combat it. If that doesn't happen, then what we need to do as parents, pull all of our kids out of public schools and watch it crash.
Absolutely. How do you feel then, as far as parents pulling kids out of schools? How do you feel about school vouchers?
School choice?
School vouchers.
I love school choice. And I'll tell you why I love it. Let's say you live in a town and all you got is a McDonald's, right? McDonald's can treat you any kind of way. Because if you want to go out to eat, you got to go there. They can be slow, the food can be cold, the restaurant can be nasty. But if you want to go out to eat, you go into McDonald's. All of a sudden you build a Burger King. Now McDonald's got to step up its game, right? Their food got to be hot, their service got to be better, everything got to be clean, right? With school choices, that's what you're telling the MPS and public schools. Step your game up. Because I have the right to choose where my kid go to school. So step your game up.
So on the subject of families, especially in the city, economics, what do you think is the number one problem that's facing families, especially families in the city? Because you're from Milwaukee, you're a pastor here, you're familiar with the dynamic. What do you think that number one problem is? What is needed in their lives?
The number one problem in Milwaukee right now is government. That's the number one problem. Why do I say that? You can have a single mom, right? She gets some kids, and in the process of getting kids, she go get a job, right? But she still need help with child care and food right now because she's starting out. Well, the government said if you make $1 over what we consider you can make, we snatch everything away from you. I believe that government should not snatch everything away, but wean them off. All right. So as she's working on her career and building up, okay, so as she's making money, say, okay, we're not going to take all your child care away. We're going to take this much away, and now you budget to pay this much. Then we're not going to take all your stamps away, but we're going to take this much away until you get to that level you are self-sufficient, right? But what the government says is give it all to me now. So what do you think a mother's going to do? She's going to stay on the plantation.
Because it's easier to stay with what you know, even if it's rough and worse for you in the long run,
right,
than it is to go into uncharted territories on your own without any kind of
help.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to allow your kids, because now you got to figure out who I'm going to get to watch my kids, how I'm going to pay this child care, how I'm going to pay this, how I'm going to pay that. So when you look at it from that standpoint, that is why we have to look at it and say, okay, what do we need now? What do we need now? And the whole process of everything is this: move government out of the way. Government is so far in the way that if a child, right, looks at his mom and says, you know what, I don't want to be like this. I mean, I know she's on welfare, she's doing the best she can for me, but I don't want this. I want something better, right? So the child decided to go out and start selling water in the city of Milwaukee. Now they got to go get a permit to sell water. A child. You're attacking a child. Oh, he need a seller's license. Come on. Anything the city government or state government can get their hands on, they rather get their hands on it. So our biggest problem is government. So as an agitator, as a lieutenant governor who also know business, who also know the community, the people, you need that lieutenant governor that can be that adapter. He can adapt to either or, right? So if he's that adapter to if he's the adapter to the community, and the community, one thing, for example, myself, one thing that I promise the people is, I'm going to always fight for you. But the problem with us, with our fight, and why we're not winning, is because of the fact that we don't have nobody on the inside. You can't beat a machine if you ain't on the inside. You have to get in the inside.
Last year, we saw a number of
Protest rallies.
Some of them were quite extreme. The Black Lives Matter movement. Give me your thoughts on the Black Lives Matter movement, where it was right, where it was wrong, where it could have done better, what people should look to moving forward in those areas.
Oh, I love your questions.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. But,
I love being on the spot. That's what I say. It's not hard for me. The thing about Black Lives Matters, the negative to Black Lives Matter for me was blacks didn't get anything out of it at the end. All right? Nothing was awarded to blacks. And what do I mean by that? You had the transgenders and the Asian get a law from Biden saying, okay, we're going to protect you. Still no law to protect blacks. Right? Black Lives Matter, when you look at it, their mindset was kind of off, right? Because when you talk to a person that says Black Lives Matter, and their mindset is Black Lives Matter only when a cop kills a black. But I asked them, what about when a black kill a black? Don't that Black Lives Matter? Or what about a black baby being aborted? But that's not their agenda. So what they're telling you is, we're using you guys to push our agenda. We just need you out there so it'll look like we out there for you guys. You know, one of the leaders of the Black Lives Matter brought her a brand new house in an all-white community. So how do Black Lives matter?
Absolutely. It seems like there were elements of hypocrisy there. Do you think that the movement, as far as like the actual structure of the movement, because with any situation, when there are people out in the street, there are a lot of people who really care about what they're out there promoting. But do you think the structure of the movement? What do you think the core of it was? Do you think the core of the movement was what was being said, kind of in popular culture, or do you think the core of the movement was perhaps different from what was being put out there?
Well, I think for one, it wasn't put out there for the right reason. Because right now, if you go in and you get all of the statistics of education in blacks in every inner city of this country, you'll find out that the education done dumbed down. So they're not getting a good education. Black Lives Matter. Where are you? Right? Why you're not doing this? Now, so people that's out there, not the organization itself or those leaders, but the people that's out there, I really believe that they really want to make sure Black Lives Matters, but they're not getting what they want. All right, and a lot of them is waking up and seeing that. They be like, wait a minute, how come you don't want to talk about abortions or blacks killing blacks or our education system or even incarceration of blacks? None of those are being brought up in the Black Lives Matter issues.
Absolutely.
I will give the organization in New York credit when they stood up for the mandate and say, hey, this is slavery. No, we don't want to do, so out of that part of Black Lives Matter, yes. Injustice, period, I do not like. I don't care if it's black, white, Latino, it doesn't matter. Injustice. You got good cops, you got bad cops. You got some good politicians, you got bad politicians. I'm a pastor, you got good pastors, you got bad pastors. You got them all in there, right? You just got to be able to define which is the two. So in that process of finding which is the two, the question is, how do we really push agenda? Because one of the biggest problems in the agenda is the Black Lives Matter. They had an agenda to make everybody hate Trump so Biden could get in office. That was their agenda. It wasn't the average Joe on the street agenda, right? So the average Joe on the street agenda is, hey, what about us? They get nothing. The organization getting paid. All right. Some found out that the organization money was going in. Like if I decided, let's say I wanted to donate to Black Lives Matter. So what do? I go online and then I hit the donation button and it goes to blue something, which is the Democrat Party. So your money doesn't go to Black Lives Matter, it goes to the Democrat Party. So
Yeah, absolutely, the Act Blue.
Act Blue, there you go.
The Act Blue donation button. I remember hearing about that, and I think there were a couple of other instances of that where like there were some other independent fundraisers, and all of the overflow cash would just flow into the Act Blue fund.
Right.
That was pretty interesting to find out.
Yeah, but so when you say Black Lives Matters, we have to say, okay, if we're going to go Black Lives Matter, we have to look at it from two perspectives. The first perspective is, what do we want? If we're going to go out here and holler Black Lives Matter, what do we want, right? And I'm not saying we want something crazy, but we want the best education. Milwaukee MPS get more money than any school district in this state. And if you look at what those school districts is doing with those kids versus MPS, it's a shame. Put us on the same playing field as Hartford or Brookfield. Put us on that same playing field. But when you're not doing that to us and you say, oh, all you got to do is go to class and you'll be good. No, put me on the same field as you put anybody else. Why? Because of the fact that this is America and I'm supposed to have a fair shot just like anybody else, right? The second thing with Black Lives Matter is we have to really gear the people, how I like to say, real information, real data, okay? It was sad what happened to Floyd.
Yeah.
Okay, that was sad, but Floyd wasn't the first one. All right, so now you done made somebody who wasn't the first one. What's the word I want to use? A martyr, right?
Right.
But you didn't make Malcolm X a martyr.
As well as that, because as you know, today is October 31st that we're doing the interview, and tomorrow is the beginning of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. How do you feel about the Kyle Rittenhouse situation? What are your thoughts on it?
I really don't have thoughts right now. I mean, it's because I don't know. I haven't seen everything. I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know much about it. I do know that some people died. I don't know if he was it was at the time, because I'm a concealed carry person, right? So one of the things in the conceal and carry, they say this: did you have a way out? Okay, how do we consider what's justified, right? Did you have a way out? My thing is, he was supposed to have been helping his family member. I think that's what the story was, because he lived in Illinois. He came over to help the family member. Did he? So I can play the devil advocate. Why did you come?
Absolutely.
Why did you come over here? Did you come with the mindset it's an opportunity to shoot somebody, or or did you really come to help family member? Right. At the same time, I don't believe in protesting where you're setting fires and burning things up. That is not my cup of tea. I love the protesting and the rallies we do, to the fact that when we get done rallying, you don't even know we was there, because we clean up everything. All right. So if you look at it from a concealed carry, did you have a way out? All right. Was you the initiative? Did you initiate it? What words was said? What did you say because you got a rifle in your hand? Because when we got weapons in our hand, we feel a little more courageous, right?
Absolutely.
So what was said? Did they just walk up on you and try to jump you and take your gun? Or was there a conversation? Because if it was, did you have a way out?
Absolutely.
Did you fire a warning shot? Because if you fired a warning shot, you're guilty, right? Because that's what they tell us in training, and they give you, they told us in training, you're not allowed to fire a warning shot. Because if you fired a warning shot, you had a way out. So, for example, let's say you're in a car accident, right?
Yeah.
The person you hit car is disabled. right? So you hit his, you get in the accident. Your car is 12 feet away from him, right? So you get up to look at the damage. He get out and he pull it back and he come at you, and you shoot him. Is it justifiable or not justifiable? It's unjustifiable because you could have got in your vehicle and pulled off. So all of those things comes into play, you know, when you're looking at it. That is one of the reasons why I say I don't know. So for me, any life taken is bad, it's sad, but I'm going to wait and see, because that's something I did not go into or saw evidence or even heard testimonies of people that was out there. So for that one, I'm not gonna touch on. But what I will say is this though, the action of some law enforcement, not all, okay? Make sure you put that in there, not all, but how they handle a black person with a gun versus a white person with a gun is totally different, and we know that. So if you got a white with a gun, if you got a white person that has a gun, and the police was called white with a gun, right? They'll try to talk him down. You got a black with a gun, he's getting shot. Okay, and that's something that is something that we just have to look at it and just reality. It all depends, because I got pulled over a couple of times with my gun and never was threatened by the police, because when I pulled out my license, I pulled out my concealed carry. So I'm letting them know I got the gun, right? So, and they respected me for that. So that was good. But then you have some that they didn't get a chance to. So you know, it all depends on what which lenses are you looking through. Are you looking through from an average person, or are you looking from a person that just always bitter anger, or are you looking at a person that uses common sense? So I'm praying that whatever happened in the legal system, that it happens correctly, to the fact there's no riot behind it. What happened in Kenosha was terrible. The way our governor handled it was very terrible, right? The way government itself handled it was terrible. Because why? Nobody really, okay, I mean, I give Stiles credit, who went and called the president, asked him to send troops, right? So, okay, they ceased it, right? So in the midst of ceasing it, where was the government after that?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm going to be watching it very closely. I'm fascinated.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it now, you know, because I know people are going to say, tell me a little bit about it. So I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to try to gain on somebody else's pain. I would never do that. Candidates, they will try to capitalize on somebody else's pain, and what happens is that lets you know what kind of character they really have. Even with the event with the pastors in Milwaukee, I went there, and Lena Taylor all over it because she's running for lieutenant governor. You know, but you ain't said nothing before this, and you claiming to them, telling pastor, but I knew about this. Okay, if you knew about it, why didn't you say anything?
That is a very good question, is it not? Do you mind giving me your thoughts about that, about what's going on? To the best of your ability, there's not that much information out there about it yet.
Well, my thing about it is, there are some things that's going on. Not everything is what's the word I want to use? Correct. Okay, we got misformed information. Somebody said 26 churches was taken. Then somebody said no, it was 50, but no names, no churches. The picture they put on the flyer was a church that had been closed for years. A school took it over. The school folded. So when it went from church to that public school, it is now a tax. It goes on the tax roll.
Absolutely.
So, but nobody got it. So the taxes. So the city owns it now.
Yeah.
But that's the picture they put on there. So it was a lot of deception with that. So that made me mad. Now there is a pastor who said he ended up paying $10,000, over $10,000, and he said that the ordinance says that they would be fined $10 up to $500, not being put on the tax roll. But then there's a pilot thing that they put out there, and I think they're now trying to switch the churches because what did he tell me? He said Marquette and the hospital was supposed to be part of this pilot thing, but they're saying we're not doing it, so they just shifted it to the churches. And that's what happened. If the churches don't pay their water bill, it goes on taxes.
Yeah.
And you gotta, and they can take your building that way too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it made the church look stupid. And being a pastor, I was upset at that. That's why you didn't see me with all the other pastors in that row. You had the city attorney out there. You're setting up a lawsuit against the city. Guess who you're fighting? You're gonna fight him. And you letting him speak. Do you actually think he's going to lose his job, his benefits, and everything that comes with being the city attorney to save a church? He's not going to do that.
Doesn't sound right.
And he's a Democrat. It's not going to happen.
Absolutely. They also had, speaking of like political affiliations, I think they also had Greg Davis speaking. He's the president of the Wisconsin chapter, at least, of Souls to the Polls.
That's a joke too. I mean, if it's happening until people can give me documentation, I'm not joining a fight that I don't know what I'm fighting for. I was called down there on false pretense, because they know you talking about a fight, I'm coming,
Yeah, absolutely.
And because I love fighting, I mean, that's just me. But to get there and say, okay, I need document. I need to know what churches. I need to talk to those pastors, whatever. Oh, we ain't got that. Why did you put it out there then?
Yeah.
If you got, and then they're going to use, well, some is shame. Some is shame. I don't want to hear shame. If you've been wrong,
you go out, man. You tell them what's what.
Right. So I told them I don't want to hear it. Give me or I won't hear it. Yeah. So they stopped calling me. Because I'm asking too many questions.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating. Okay, well, that's really enlightening. I appreciate it. Where do you stand on gendered bathrooms in schools?
Well, gendered bathrooms, that's a no-brainer. If you're a boy, go into boys. If you're a girl, go into girls. We just found out in Virginia, they allowed gender to go in the bathroom, and the boy raped the girl in the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
They didn't want to call the police because everybody said this was going to happen. They didn't want that to be out. So what did they do? They transferred the boy to another school. And what did he do? The same thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. The Loudoun, I don't know how you pronounce but the county school, the school district. Yeah, absolutely.
And the father get arrested when he addressed it.
Where do you stand on the topic of abortion? You were talking about abortion in relation to
I don't
Black
believe in
Lives
abortion
Matter.
at all.
Okay. What do you think about climate change? Sorry. I know that one's a little out of...
Climate change is a joke. I'm just going to be straight up with you. I fought... See, a lot of candidates is just now getting in the race because of CRT, forensic audit, right? And the mandate. So they've been out all last year running around that, so they feel they should run for office. But they haven't really been in the fight. I fought against climate change, okay? Because there was a trick to climate change. It was called cap and trade. Cap and trade was going to control your energy in your house. Can you imagine living in Wisconsin and it's 12 below or 20 below zero and you got to get on the phone and say, hey, can you turn up my heat because it's really cold here? And they say to you, oh, we would, but you used enough energy last month, so we're not going to turn it on. So when it came to cap and trade, it was so funny. They had a renewable a renewable energy conference here in Milwaukee. And I've been talking to a Dr. Woolley Soon, who's well-known scientist and everything. He educated me on global warming. He even showed me how the school books put the wrong charts. He showed the letter that he sent to them to say the chart is wrong, and they sent him a letter saying we know, but let them figure it out at the school, right? So I'm sitting there, and when I'm sitting there, this is what I'm hearing: 387 ppm of in the air, right? 387. So he's sitting there, right? So I'm looking. So I'm in there, and Dr. So he said 387. He said, David, that's equivalent to 4 cents of your $100. I said, thank you. So when it was time to questions, I went up and asked questions, right?
Nice.
And so when I started asking questions, everybody looking like, first of all, they're like, who is this black guy asking these kind of questions? So I asked the question. So then my final question to the scientist was, if I brought a scientist in here to debate you, would you debate him? He said, first of all, I would have to ask the president. And secondly, he says, if you brought two scientists in the room and debate, y'all wouldn't know what we're talking about, right? So I'm looking at that. I'm like, oh wow, this man just called all of us stupid. So I'm looking at it, what I did is I brought Dr. Woolley Soon. This was February 17th, 2009. I took him through Milwaukee charter schools, and they let us in, and he taught on global warming.
Fascinating.
I took him to a Muslim school. Mm-hmm. I took him to a couple of choice charter schools. And so I took him around so people can see what the truth is. So I'm always fighting for truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've been fighting this. I'm not just here new.
Yeah.
I've been fighting that long. And this here was the first time in Milwaukee, in the inner city of Milwaukee, I had, and I'm trying to think, this is also 2009, and this is a lady who was running, I can't remember her name, but she was running for DPI, and then I brought this gentleman in who was running for the Supreme Court, so the city of Milwaukee can get educated on the DPI race and the Supreme Court race, which they stay out of, right?
Yeah.
So yes, that's how long I've been fighting. I've been in this fight. So when you talk about global warming, I also found out, and I don't have it no more. This is on one of my old phones and computers, or it's on one of my flash drives. But I got a contract for an Al Gore contract that if he would come talk on global warming, he was paid $100,000, and nobody can ask questions. He was there to speak on it, and that was it. You're not allowed to ask questions.
And that was his that was his like terms of agreement for coming to talk about global warming.
Yes. So I have literally been out here doing what I said I can do. Literally.
And then final thoughts. You're getting into the race. Why are you getting in now? And because obviously you've been working on this stuff for a long time. And what do you think the most important thing is for people to go after, to pursue right now over the next year until the elections come up?
I was the first one to file my papers for lieutenant governor race. So I was the first one in. And I got in the races because, like I tell everybody, it's time out sending sheeps into Madison. We need a lion there. We need a lion there that's for the people, not party per se, but the people itself. Because I don't believe that we should be living in the greatest country in the world, the most freest country in the world, and we're fighting for freedom. I think that's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life, that we're fighting for something that's already given to us. So I think that those that are fighting, whether they're fighting on a school board level, if they're fighting on a school board level, if they're fighting for medical freedom, if they're fighting against the mandate, I say keep fighting. All right? Keep fighting. Let's encourage each other. Let's support one another. Let's participate with each other. I don't care if it's just a brain. Say, okay, I'm going to take a break from fighting for school board, and I'm going to come over here and give you a cup of coffee to encourage you to keep fighting. I'm going to take a break from medical freedom. I'm going to come over here to you school board guys, and we're going to, because united we stand, divided we fall, but united we stand. And so I believe that if we continue to come on, just like the Wisconsin Revival Rally, is bringing so many people together to do something that is amazing right now. You got pastors and patriots coming forth and speaking on freedom. When have you ever had that? The Revolution War, right? I mean, we had it during the Civil Rights Movement. We had churches, but you really, it wasn't really pastors and patriots really like we're at now, because we're not fighting. They was fighting for equality. And not the way they're using the word equality, but they was fighting. But now you got pastors and you got patriots. You got pastors that saying, you know what, I don't want to see my member out here fighting for freedom, and I'm not out there with them. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to be on the front line with you, because I want to make sure I not only encourage you to fight, but I'm fighting on the side of you. And so, as the next lieutenant governor, you want somebody that's going to not fight on the side of you now, but go on the inside. And every time, and one of the things I tell them is, once y'all push me into Madison, when I start fighting in Madison for you guys, don't go home and start sipping on coffee. Be right there with me, because I'm there for you. Absolutely. You know, I'm going to fight until I ain't got no breath in my body. Yeah. So, and I tell people all the time, I am a token pastor. You know, I love carrying my pistols, you know. I believe in God, family, gun. I believe in it all. Yeah, absolutely. So, absolutely. But the thing about it is, no man, I'm not worried about a man threat. Because a man threatening me is nothing, okay? It's nothing to me. I'm not worried about a man threat. I'm worried about God, okay? I'm worried about going before God, and he says to me, why didn't you do what I told you to do? Why didn't you stand up for the people like I sent you to stand up for the people? Why didn't you say what I told you to say? You know, that's the one I'm worried about. I'm not worried about anybody else. Now, am I going to walk around with a Bible in my hand and say to everybody, oh my God, you know, you need to be saved? No. My life is going to do that, right? I'm going to go in and I'm going to compliment the governor, because I know business. I know how to deal with the business side of the state. I also know how to deal with the social side of the state and everybody in the state. So I'm that boombox. You know how you can Bluetooth something and it already sounds good, but once you Bluetooth it, it goes. Yeah. That's me. I'm that person that will take the governor and make the governor look great. Okay. Absolutely, yeah. And I can make the governor look great, but I also can get on the governor's nerve if they don't do what they say they're gonna do for the people. Absolutely. And I'm not worried about getting fired. So you know, yeah. For 30 years that was my job. Fix. Yeah. So that's in my brain.
Just more of the same on a different level.
More of the same, different level.
Absolutely. Okay, well, it's been great talking to you. This has been Benjamin Elder with Real Right Wisconsin, speaking with Dr. David King, how he feels about the country, what he wants to do to make our state better, and how he is the agitator.